So here we have on stage is the Generations of Women in Aviation panel. We were so honored to hear the last panel for the all angles. Some great discussions, so we'd like to continue those discussions with the Generations of Women in Aviation panel here. We have 6 amazing panelists here that we're honored and so appreciative to have here with us today, and making the trek all the way out here to Grand Forks, North Dakota. But my name is Julianne Moore, for those of you that are new or have just walked in. Again, I'm the Vice President of Women in Aviation for our chapter here at UND. I will be moderating this panel alongside my officer, Avery. And I'm also a current senior here at UND.
Hello everyone, my name is Avery Eisenberger and I'm your second moderator today alongside Julianne. I'm a sophomore here at UND in the aviation program and one of the 2 event coordinators for the UND Women in Aviation chapter. We're very excited to have you all join us today and to hear this panel.
So for the past few months, we've gotten to know these amazing women on this panel, and we are so excited to hear what they have to say as they answer our questions today. So with that being said, we would like to introduce everyone we have here on the panel.
Hello everyone, my name is Laurel Johnson. I go by Lo. I am a first officer at Horizon Airlines. I've been there about 2.5 years now. I am also in the training department as a CRM facilitator, as well as in the recruitment department as well. So I do recruitment and conduct interviews for our True North, Ascend, and pilot development programs. And I'm based in Portland, Oregon.
My name is Monique Gonzalez. I'm a CFI at the United Aviate Academy recently. I've been in the industry for over 7 years. I was a flight attendant for United for the last, prior to 2022, for 5 years. And I'm happy to be here today. Thank you again for having me.
Hi, my name is Kyoko Kimura. I was born and raised in Japan and came over here for graduate school and ended up becoming a pilot somehow. Right now I work for Delta Airlines, fly Airbus 330, mostly international routes. And then also before becoming a pilot, I was a flight attendant for American Airlines.
Good morning, I'm Margit. I work for the FAA. I'm here to help you. I am a UND grad. I came up here to be a commercial pilot, and I left as an air traffic controller. So I've been in the agency for 26 years. I was a controller for 20 years. The last 6 years, I've had the opportunity to run another program, which is the Runway Safety Program, and I do that out of the Great Lakes region area. It's currently living in Chicago.
Good morning, my name is Jill Kost. I am a United Airlines captain on the 767. I'm also a QC line check pilot, which just means when new pilots or transition pilots come out of the training center, their first flight is on the airplane with passengers, and I'm there to hold their hand. I also do line checks, and the quality control part is for new line check pilots. We also assist in training and checking them. I'm based in Newark. I am a UND grad.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kit Warfield, and I use she, her as my pronouns. I'm a retired seaplane pilot from Seattle, originally from Montana, which is kind of right next door to North Dakota, but over on the far, far side from here. So anyway, I started out in a career in software, actually, and then went on to become a seaplane pilot. So I have a little unconventional path through aviation, but a very enjoyable one. I'm also the past chair of the National Gay Pilots Association, NGPA, and very happy to be here.
Yeah, so thank you guys. We're happy to introduce you guys to our students here at UND. With that being said, so we're going to move into our discussions now. So we all know the aviation industry is consistently changing. Even for me, coming in as a freshman, I came in during 2020, during the height of COVID era, and it has drastically changed for me ever since then. So with that being said, what changes have you seen with being in the industry, and where do you see it heading in the future?
Happy to take that one. We're tracking something we are calling green on green. This is a new threat and something we're paying a lot of attention to, and I'll explain that. But I'll kind of take you back a little bit. As you know, the airline industry is very cyclical. So we hire, we don't hire. So of course, after 9/11, we fondly call the lost decade. We didn't hire for almost the whole decade. So we had at United Airlines about 10,000 pilots, and we only had about 4 pilots that were under the age of 40. So as you can see, we didn't hire for a long time. So those pilots now, in the next 10 years, like myself, will be retiring. But at United Airlines, our CEO, Scott Kirby, has come out and said, we are gonna have 28,000 pilots in the next 10 years. We have 800 aircraft on order. So imagine how many new pilots that are coming aboard at this time. Just in the last year or so, we've hired over 5,000 pilots. So what we're tracking is when a pilot is new on the aircraft, doesn't have to be new to the company, but new on the aircraft with less than 500 hours, we call them green. So right now we're seeing about 50% of our flights blue, which is above 500 hours with green. So half the flights have a new pilot maybe, or new to that aircraft on it. About a quarter of them are green on green. So half of the flights, or a quarter of these flights flying around are new pilots. So you can see how important training and standards is going to be coming into the future. And that green on green is just going to increase. And in the next 10 years, it's going to be a very strong factor. So that's something we're really paying a lot of attention to. We sort of look at it as a threat, but as of course safety being the top priority, we're going to pay a lot of attention to that.
Yes, so one thing I've also noticed with United Airlines as a previous employee, we opened up a flight school in Phoenix, Arizona. So being part of the first graduation class at the United Aviate Academy, more than 50% of our class were minorities and women who are aviators and are going to be filling up the new airplanes that are being brought to United every year. Biggest purchase from Boeing ever made in history, so I'm looking forward to that expanding with United Airlines and hopefully seeing new aviators.
So as students, we're always looking for guidance and advice. What is something that you wish your younger self knew, or something you could go back and tell yourself?
I'll jump in on this one. I mentioned that my first career was in software. I didn't actually go into software because I was some kind of nerd or something. It was, I could write well, and the new software industry needed people who could explain how these things worked, and I could do that, so I kind of fell into that. I wanted to be a pilot, but I just thought I'm not very smart in math. I'm a woman. I don't know if I'm going to, if I even have a shot at that. So I went ahead and had a very fulfilling career in software. I worked on 4 versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator. It was quite a lot of fun, and I got completely burned out. And so one of the messages that I got that I heeded that I'd love for you to think about is that you can pivot. You're not locked into one thing for the rest of your life. I finally thought, all right, I love flying. I love aviation. I'd love to learn to fly. I finally got some money. I've got the time. Let's do it. And I went on to become a seaplane pilot. So my message that I hope you take away is that you can change your mind down the road if you need to. It will work out. At least it did for me.
You can definitely change your mind. As I mentioned earlier, I came in thinking I was going to be a commercial pilot and left as an air traffic controller with my commercial instrument rating, so that's pretty cool. But 3 things come to my mind is don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to fail, and learn from the opportunities, especially opportunities that don't turn out so well. You can always learn something from that, which comes to 3 things when I became an air traffic controller that I never said I would do. That was never become a supervisor. As a controller for, it was probably about 7 years I was controlling. I'm like, this is the best job, this is cool, you go to work, you do your job, you put the keys in the ashtray, and you're done. My experience looking at the supervisor, I'm like, gosh, these guys do a lot of work. Not only do they control, but they got paperwork they have to do. They gotta, check people out, and I was like, not for me. The second thing I said I'd never do was be an air traffic manager. Again, I started at a small facility, and at the small facilities, there's not a group of people to help you out. You don't have the staffing, so the air traffic manager does everything from many hats, literally from fixing toilets to being available 365 days a year, 24/7. True story. And the third thing I said I would never do is I would never go to Washington, D.C. to work at headquarters. I do not like politics. I didn't like politics at the time, and that was the last place I wanted to be. So don't shut the door. Leave the door open for opportunities. I have learned so much when I became a supervisor, which opened up more doors to become an air traffic manager. Which opened up another door to actually go to headquarters, learn and meet people in DC, make the contacts, networking. So never say never, keep your opportunities open. Thank you.
First, I want to commend you all for kind of knowing what you want to do at such a young age and going out and doing it. For me, this is a second, kind of a third career actually. I got a degree from The Ohio State University in community ecology, which is basically just a mix of psych, and social work, and I did social work for a while and got really burnt out. Two of the kids that I was working with on a daily basis were shot and killed in Columbus, Ohio, and I took that really hard and just wanted to do something different, and so I became a flight attendant. And it wasn't until I was a flight attendant that I actually saw a Black female pilot in the flight deck. And for me, that just completely opened my eyes. It's something that I never saw any of my people do, so I didn't even know that, and I'm pretty well traveled, I've been on airplanes, I've been all over the world, and just never thought that was something that I could do as a career, so that's what really inspired me. And then I went back to school. I went to Ohio University to do my flight training in my late 20s and didn't get to the airlines until my 30s. And so kind of echoing off of what Kit said earlier, you are not a tree, you can move, and it's okay to pivot. And so if, I took the scenic route to get here, and that's okay. And it's been a great journey so far. I'm just open to all the opportunities. So I would say, don't get so stuck in your plan. Don't have that confirmation bias, you know what I'm saying? Just, if you need to pivot, and that's okay. And you might end up finding something that you love.
Can I say just something quick? I was listening to earlier panels and it just came to my mind. Especially in aviation, we are so competitive, right? And then we have to move forward, like before anybody else. Don't do that. Just enjoy your journey. And then if you're not ready, don't take a check ride. I've done it. I said, I need more lessons. Because, if you go for a check ride and fail, it's going to be on your record. Don't do that. So people learn at different speed and style. So don't be afraid. Just be yourself. And if you're not ready, don't go. Just you have to learn at your speed. So that's something. I was always, my pace, so it didn't matter. But many people told me that, they're always in competition in this field. So please don't.
Well, that was great advice, especially for our students here. We often get that tunnel vision of that single goal, and we forget to have fun and enjoy it in the moment. So we appreciate your guys' advice on that. So moving on, so a lot of us, even as students, it's difficult sometimes to juggle an education along with friends and family back home, since a lot of us live far away from our families. In your career, how do you balance your family life, and what kind of advice would you give to those younger generations?
I can speak just in my experience at United Airlines. There's so many amazing opportunities that you can do other than go on a 3-day trip. So you can, if you decide to have children, you can do jobs in the flight office. You can apply for special assignment. There's lots of opportunities in the training center where you're home every night. And if that's something that you're interested in doing to raise a family, that's a great opportunity. Personally, for me, my husband also is a UND grad, and he flies for Delta Airlines. And we basically did opposite schedules for our daughter for 18 years, with help of family, of course, nearby too. And we managed a really interesting life for our daughter. We were always home, and of course we get 15, 16, 17 days off a month. So I was always senior chose to be senior on the airplane before I bid to the next aircraft. So I made every birthday party, every Christmas. I've been on every field trip. I drove the bus on field trips. And my husband did the same. We volunteered a lot at school. We were, coaches and all those kinds of things during soccer years and stuff like that. So it's a fun chapter now because my daughter is a junior at Harvard and she's done very well for herself. And we're now living our second life as empty nesters. So it's been a fun experience for us.
I could add to that too about spending time with family is one thing for me. I was always raised that family's always first and always being united together. As a flight attendant, I was able to take my father to work with me and go out to Portugal and be on a layover with him. And, it's really nice to have that support, family support, especially when you're doing flight training. And sometimes you have to put it on a pause for those special events, such as grandmother's birthdays or maybe a Christmas to meet your family. It's easy to get involved in the industry and just think that this is your life and you have to dedicate your entire life to it. I would always say value your priorities and find someone that also values those same values and priorities as you, and together you will make your life together great and smooth.
Something that I've also learned in this industry too is a lot of times we get caught up in celebrating the holidays on the actual day, and that's not always possible. So something that we have decided to do in my family, for instance, like if I couldn't get Christmas off, well, we're doing Christmas 3 days before Christmas, which also happens to be my birthday, so it's not really a birthday for me, but it's Christmas, right? And so don't get so caught up on like, oh, it has to be on this day, because sometimes that might not be feasible. And this is where, like we've been saying this whole time, you have to learn how to pivot. And so just cherish those moments. Time management is a huge thing. So just cherish the moments that you have and make the most of it.
Well, thank you so much all for the input. Having that work-life balance is important, as you all know, so it's great to see that that is something possible within this career. So we have all had obstacles in our path that we've had to overcome, whether it be of a personal matter like family relationships or global industry changes or pandemics. What was your biggest obstacle getting into the industry and how did you navigate it?
Okay. Like I said, I'm not from the United States. I'm from Japan. I was born and raised in Japan, and I finished college in Japan too. And then I did speak some English, but I was not fluent at all. If I watch a movie, I can follow it, but I didn't know what was going on. So that was my level when I came here. So I think that was the biggest thing, just living here and also getting in aviation. Aviation English is a little different. It's not like a full sentence. You can just put this word and that word, that works too. But especially in the United States, ATC is more like conversational, so it's very, very difficult. I think that was the most difficult thing I had. And also, I didn't have any aviation degree, so I didn't go to college for any science degrees. I all have bachelor's and master's in arts, like English and American literature, so I didn't know how engine worked, really, when I got in. So I had to study in English everything. That was really hard. But, in this industry, if you work hard, you get there. You don't really have to speak English fluently. Like Rie was saying, it's possible. And also, I'm sure everybody knows it's financial difficulties. It's very expensive. And the way I did it was, I got an internship program offered from a flight school. So I worked for it. I didn't pay for it, but I worked 7 to 7, 6 days a week, and I paid for it. I didn't have life outside of this for 1 year, but I got there. So that's how I paid for it. And also time management, like Bo was saying. I was always a last minute person. If I had a appointment, I was 30 minutes late before I got into this industry. But now I pack the day before. And my husband, who's also a pilot, he makes fun of me even today. It's like, why are you packing? You're not going until tomorrow, day after. Because I don't want to do it at the last minute. If I do it, I'm going to forget something. So that's something I changed, and I'm glad I did.
would say the biggest obstacle for me was just trying to break into aviation and figuring out how to get into it. So, like I said, I was kind of introduced by being a flight attendant, but I knew for myself that I wasn't going to be able to be a flight attendant and pursue an aviation career. It just wasn't feasible for me. So trying to figure out whether I was going to go Part 61 versus Part 141 and things like that were really difficult, especially not knowing any pilots or just not having that family background of like, oh, my dad or my mom or somebody who's in the aviation industry. I didn't really know anybody. So I had to do a lot of research. And then when I got in there, it was very intimidating to me just being almost 30 at a 141 school and everyone is like 19, 20, and my first instructor was like 20 or something. And it was very intimidating that these people had just started their careers and were already flight instructing and I was just starting out. And so that was really hard, I would say. And the language thing too. So not necessarily like English, because I'm fluent in English, but just learning the aviation language. Like I remember my very first flight lesson, so we did a ground and then we did the flight lesson, and there were words that he was using that he didn't use in the ground lesson that I had no idea what he was talking about. So like we're going down the runway and he's telling me to rotate and I had no idea what that meant. So I'm like, rotate what? We're just screaming down. Luckily, it was a very long runway, but we're just screaming down the runway. He's like, rotate, rotate. And I was like, rotate what? Like, what are you talking about? And then he just took the controls. But anyway, so just learning those little nuances and those little things was just kind of difficult when I didn't come from any type of aviation background. And it made me learn how to be a better student and just study more and take more notes. And because I was a better student and I took my time, like Kyoko was saying, like even if my instructor said I was ready for a check ride, I knew I didn't feel confident, so I would just take longer. And having that longer route to getting my private and having that good foundation made everything else go quicker for me in the end. But I will say getting to that point where I just felt really comfortable in the airplane was a big obstacle for me.
Well, it's great to hear that advice, especially as students. We're going to face those obstacles and understanding that there is always options. It's not like a dead end, and that we can face those obstacles and kind of tackle them. So we appreciate your advice on that. So, as we all know, the amount of women in the aviation industry is very small. Even here in the College of Aerospace at UND, it's growing. It is growing, but it is small. We have had a larger growth with this new incoming freshman class, but with that, there's that risk that we can face adversity. So, when did someone you know, or when did you face adversity as a woman in a male-dominated field, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I have been very fortunate in that in my own personal experience, I haven't really faced a lot of adversity, but I know people who have. I have a friend who was a captain for a charter company, and my friend is very diminutive. She's very small. She is she's a woman, and she had a couple of guys who took one look at her and said, "I'm not flying on that airplane if you're the pilot. You're a little girl." And she just smiled at him and said, "Okay, then you're not going to Friday Harbor, are you?" And he said, "You've got to be kidding me." And she said, "Nope. Either you respect me or, we don't go." And I really, really admire her for just standing up like that. And she just said, "Look, I have to do it. I'm not going to roll over just because I am a woman or I look like a little girl or something like that." So I don't know, the takeaway there is to be strong when you're faced with some challenge like that. Be strong and be yourself.
So coming to UND way back, there was very few women in my aviation classes. And then when I made the change to go to air traffic, I was the one and only that class. But it wasn't until I actually got in the agency, where you saw a lot of things going on. And again, I was pretty fortunate that I didn't have much adversity. However, in our industry, air traffic, aviation, flying, we do a lot of training, right? I mean, not only do we go to school for the training, once out of school, we go to Oklahoma City for some more training, more simulation, more classroom. And then when we get our facility assigned to us, we go to that facility, and again, what do is more training, right? We have classroom, sim, and on-the-job training. And you don't get to pick your trainer. Wouldn't that be nice? You can't pick and choose, and the trainer can't pick and choose you necessarily either. So the facility I went to was a small facility. They were really hurting for people, so the controllers there were working 6-day work weeks. They were tired, they were cranky, but very excited to get some new fresh blood to train so they could get regular work hours and work days. So I was so excited. I was waiting a long time to get to my facility for the FAA to pick me up, and was very positive, and I'm excited to start training. And prior to getting to the facility, there was some issues with a trainer and another trainee. And unfortunately, it was a woman that the trainee, and they had some unfortunate things happen at the facility, and she left. So here we come, and that trainer who was training this person did say to the supervisor that, I don't care, I love to train, I want to train, but whatever, do not give me a female. I do not want to train a female. So here we come in, and really happy and excited, and I'm the female this person gets. So it was a challenge. I didn't know that this had occurred. However, you can feel, you can sense things, and I guess my to you is to persevere. Don't give up. Remain positive, and do what you're going to do. In the long run, it was a fabulous thing. He and I are best friends now. I taught him a lot of things, and he taught me a lot of things. So don't give up. If you come into a situation, persevere. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those stories. I feel like it's very important as women in this industry to understand that we can't face obstacles like that and push back when we aren't comfortable in a situation that we are in. So, as women in aviation, it's really important to have someone that we can look up to. Who do you believe has been your biggest inspiration in this industry? And why do you think it's important to have mentors and mentees within the aerospace industry?
So I would say that I have two really big mentors. The first one, her name is Becca Sedlak. She was about a year ahead of me at Ohio University. And when I came into the program, there were only 3 women, other than myself. 2 of them ended up leaving the program and kind of going to like a management side. And it was just Becca and myself. And it wasn't a very diverse program, and just having someone to like follow and just really guide me along the way of like navigating even just communication barriers with different instructors, or just like navigating what it's like to be a female in aviation was just wonderful. And to this day, I call her and bug her about things, and we're at completely 2 different airlines, and I'll just ask her questions, and it's just great to have that person that can kind of like walk you through life. One of the other mentors that I have is actually an Alaska pilot. Her name is Mallory Cave. She was the first Black woman to graduate from Ohio University's aviation program, and I was the second, and that was 10 years later. And I actually met her when I was doing an internship with Alaska, and she just helped me navigate coming to Horizon and Alaska Air Group, and set me up with the right people as far as like, me wanting to do other things in aviation and not just be a first officer, and like really helped me feel at home and helped me feel a part of the Alaska Air Group family. So that has just been really helpful, and I would definitely say if you don't have a mentor, find one who you feel like you can connect with on all walks of life and not just aviation related, someone that you can really talk to and lean on because it's really helpful.
So, as I said, I was a flight attendant for American Airlines before I became a pilot. I was 28 years old, and I remember standing in the cockpit. Back then, that was before September 11th. So we can go into the cockpit anytime we wanted and stand there and look at the first officer. She's my age. She's flying a big airplane. Like, how does that work? So I started to ask a lot of questions. What did you do? How did you learn how to fly? So they started to ask me questions. So what kind of education do you have? I said, I just finished graduate school. Great. So are you interested in flying? I'm like, I don't know, I'm too old. That's what I said. And they're like, no, you're not old, but you better start right now. So just go to flight school and learn how to fly an airplane, which I did. And one of the first officers I'm still a friend with, Janet Patton from American Airlines. And she is still such a cheerleader. She's like, you can do it. How are you doing? Did you find a flight school? All that. So from there, I just took it. I found a flight school. I was on my own. And I did a lot of research. I dropped all my trips as a flight attendant. I just did flight training. And it took me a year and 7 months to finish to flight instructor rating. And from there, I became a flight instructor, taught people how to fly an airplane, 2.5 years, and I got hired by regional airlines. So those are the biggest inspiration. And it's still, I have to say, Jill Kost. She is a Czech airman and on the wide body at United Airlines. And then also, I don't know if Karen Ruth is still here. She's the chief line Czech airman, Airbus 330 at Delta Airlines. They are my inspirations today. I'm a first officer on the Airbus 330, and I look at those ladies, I'm like, I'm gonna be like them in the future. I mean, I have 10 years left, but I'm gonna be like them. And then that's really important to have a mentor and it's somebody you can look up to. It doesn't matter where you are in your career and what age you are. I think that's very important.
Yeah, well, it's great to get that advice from you guys, especially based on mentors. Even here at UND, we have the collegiate mentorship program where we have students that are a junior or senior level that mentor incoming freshmen. So we really appreciate you guys' advice on that. We also have an industry mentorship program too, where we pair students who have with graduated alumni of UND from the Aerospace College with their interests and things like that. So we appreciate your advice on that. But so many of us, even in this room, since we are all students, in the audience, we're in different phases of on our path in the industry. A lot of us are students. I'm working on my CFI. There's a lot of student pilots, private pilots, everyone in the ATC industry as well. So with that being said, what resources can you recommend to students, especially those who are entering the industry?
Yes, well, I'm also a CFI, but I'm also part of the Latino Pilots Association Scholarship Committee. I'm an active volunteer. And honestly, with the resources that we have available, you used to probably ask before, we never had this type of organization set up. And now that we do, even there is volunteer mentors wanting to mentee you. Like we talked about, mentorship is very important, as well as resources. So there are scholarships for each and every one individual that want to, that can break down those financial barriers and social economic statuses for those that are underrepresented in the aviation and overall communities. So we want to be able to inspire and find those organizations, some listed behind us previously, Latino Pilots Association, Women in Aviation, NGPA, and finding those type of resources within the organization as well as volunteering and networking. You just have to do a little bit of the work, finding out what you've done and what you plan on doing forward, and those resources will come up to you. And as a CFI level, I always say network with others, study groups. I have students of myself, and I always tell them, hey, if my grounds or whatever I'm teaching, maybe someone else will be able to one-on-one study with your peers and study groups. Those are always helpful, and yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. So we'll open up this next question to the entire panel. Many of our questions up until this point have been more of a serious note. So we all got into aviation though because we're passionate about it. It's something that we enjoy doing. So what is a fun experience that you've had within your field?
Do you want to hear about when I fell in the water? When I left the keys back in the office? When I got stuck at low tide? There are all kinds of stories when you fly a seaplane. And who out here, who has a seaplane rating? Anybody? Yes, okay. Who's flown in a seaplane? Okay, so it's a little different, and we do things just a little bit differently. And the top of mind is where the story that I want to tell is the one about the key. So yes, of course we have checklists and so on and so forth. But in my job, I was churning out scenic flights around Seattle 6, 7, 8 times a day. And in between the flights, and somebody would help me fuel and so forth. And I loaded up my passengers into the airplane. We push out from the dock, because remember when you're in the seaplane, you don't start up at the dock, you have to push it out. So you're kind of at the mercy of the winds and everything until you get the engine started. And I hopped in, moved my seat forward, everybody's loaded up, and no key. So I checked my ego at the door, and I quickly grabbed the paddle and did the paddle of shame back to the dock. Nobody got hurt, just my ego. And my boss had a tremendous time laughing about it, but we all got stuck like that somehow once or twice in Seattle Seaplanes. And I just wanted to add one more thing. I am known as Mama Bear, and it's not because I spend so much time around the water or around salmon or anything like that. This is a little side note, but I take that role pretty seriously. I can be your best friend, and I will be your strongest, most fierce ally also. So anyway, that's you can ask me for more of the stories if you want to hear them later.
I had the opportunity at United to fly a charter flight that was put on by Marie Claire magazine. They were hosting something called the Power Trip, and they invited 50 top executives, women, CEOs of different corporations. They flew them from Newark to San Francisco. They stayed there for 24 hours and flew them home. And they requested an entire female crew. Not only did I get to be the captain of that flight with a female first officer, we had a female dispatcher, we had a female mechanic, we had female pushback crew, we had female baggage handlers. Everybody that touched the airplane, had anything to do with the airplane, was a woman. And it was quite fun, and we celebrated it quite a bit. They, took lots of pictures, and we got lots of sort of inner notoriety over it, and we really had a great time. So that was a fun treat for me.
So, anyone here of Oshkosh? As a controller, it is an honor to be selected for Oshkosh, and I had the honor to be selected to work Oshkosh as a controller, and it is amazing. It's anything and everything to do with aircraft and aviation, on steroids. And the camaraderie, the friends that you make, and the work that you do, you work hard. I've never worked so hard in my life as a controller. The hours you put in and the studying for it, but it's all worth it. And we have lots of stories. I can talk about that off the stage with you, but definitely an honor.
I got to fly my parents 2 weeks ago on my airplane from Haneda to Seattle. I bought them tickets just to make sure they get on. Yeah, I splurged. So, and then that was the end of 6-day trip, so I did 4 flights. And I told my captain, so this is what's gonna happen, my parents are gonna be on. He said, you're gonna fly. I said, no, that's okay. He's like, no, you got to fly. So I took that leg, so I was a pilot flying. And I made a best landing. I was so happy. And I also made an announcement in English and in Japanese. My parents didn't say anything. I don't know if they heard me, but I think other people, actual flight attendants and gate agents, were more, excited than I was. And the gate agents in Tokyo, they're like, oh my God, we gotta take a picture. So they're like, give me your camera, give me your phone. And they took a picture of us, and then that was great. Loved it.
I'd say fun is also traveling, taking your family to trips like I had mentioned previously, as well as taking up your smaller siblings up on a small GA airplane. I took up my siblings over to my hometown, a small hometown in Wenatchee, Washington. It's a huge agriculture area. And just inspiring them and hoping and opening their eyes to, hey, we can all do this, and together we can do it together. But just being able to get that seat and that perspective view, you will never have another type of office like that. Whether you're a flight attendant or a pilot, that is it's priceless, and it's also a lot of fun to be able to share it with others that you love. I also want to say being part of volunteering and being part of a committee that I truly am passionate about, and being able to go to conventions and being here with you guys today is really an honor and just opens up so many doors, and I'm just looking forward to the future.
I would say one of the most fun experiences that I had was after I graduated. I actually took an internship with L Brands. If you're not familiar with them, they own like Victoria's Secrets and Bath and Body Works and stuff. And it's based in Columbus, Ohio, because that's where Les Leisner is from. But nobody in fashion wants to live in Columbus, Ohio. So they have shuttles that run daily on a CRJ 200 to New York. And because that's where all like the big fashion people are. And so I got to fly to New York and see like the newest line of like Victoria's Secret stuff, which was really cool, and like tour the facilities. And after that, I got to fly over with some of because I made connections, I got to fly over to London and Milan with the pilots and some of the higher up like fashion directors when they were out like picking new fabrics and stuff for the new line that they had just designed. And it was just the coolest experience, and it opened my eyes to business aviation, because that's one of the things that you don't get to hear about as much when you're in flight school. Everyone always talks about like the military or the airlines, but just learning about corporate aviation was really cool, and having that experience. And I love fashion, so it was just really cool to go somewhere different and actually see how they do the Atlantic crossing and stuff like that, and being up in the flight deck. And it was a cool experience, especially as someone just starting out their career.
Well, thank you guys for sharing all those fun experiences. I think sometimes, with these tough conversations, it's a little bit harder answering those questions, so we're happy to end that on a kind of a happier note here. But we have a little bit of time to open it up to the audience, so we've asked our panelists these questions. So if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand, and I'll have Avery hand over a mic to you.
If you had like any confidence issues, like how would you overcome like a loss of confidence?
I can start. I'm confident I can start here. The first thing is believing in yourself and telling yourself you can do this. There's many times where I went through training. I started in a tower, and later in my career I decided that I was going to go to the TradeCon, and people thought I was crazy because I had to go back to school, back to Oklahoma, and there was times when I was down there that it was very difficult, and I thought, I can't do this, but I would look in the mirror, literally look in the mirror and say, you can do this. I would talk to myself and build myself up, and those are just some tools that I use. And I think if someone tells you ever that they've never felt the lack of confidence, they're lying, because everyone, I don't care who you are, has those feelings. So continue to persevere, seek out some friends that know you, that if you're in a bad spot or just really down and need something, talk with them, get together with the group, maintain that friendship and mentorship.
And you're flying now, are you? Are you a student? Okay. How do you stop a spin? You don't have to answer me right now, but I mean, you're spiraling down this way, you stop on the opposite rudder, right? And you just say, no, airplane, I don't want you to do that right now. that's what I do with myself sometimes. If I get sort of spooled up, like I can't do this, I don't, blah, 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 and I think, hang on a second, you're starting to spin, get out of that spin. And then just like, okay, relax, reassess, you're okay, we'll proceed. So, I don't know, I like to apply aviation to my life, so anyway.
I'll just add a little quick note. The scariest days of my life were interviews, first day, walking into the campus at United Airlines, things like that. And it's just, everybody feels the same way. So it's not just us. We have to realize that everybody has these little nerves. But for me personally, I'm a planner. It's kind of like we were talking about a little while ago. I plan for days. I prepare. I get there early. I bring 3 shirts in case the first one got stained or something like that. So it goes also with flying. Study hard. Be prepared. Don't leave it to the last minute. Know your stuff, and it just gives you, the confidence comes naturally because you've learned it. You know it. There might be things you still don't know, but you prepare for it, and that really helps you in the long run.
Just a quick one. I got injured about 5 years ago, and I took a leave of absence. I tore my Achilles tendon, so that was 10 months off. And I came back to the airplane I was flying prior. I went through the training. Yes, I passed the training, but once I got to the line, oh my God, I couldn't do a lot of things. And then I still passed. But after that, I got to actual line flying without an instructor. Oh my God, I just said, I can't do this. I embarrassed myself, and also captain was not really cooperative. So I lost total confidence. And I went home and actually cried in front of my husband. I couldn't do it at work, but I did at home. And I just talked to friends, like Jill, Kara, my friend, and I told my stories, like, what do I do? I've been flying for 20 years and I can't fly the airplane. People telling me I can't fly the airplane. It's impossible. But other people said, I studied, I prepared, I talked to many, many people, and I found that I was not the only one. People go through this. So talk to your friends.
I say too that confidence isn't, you just get it overnight. It comes with putting yourself out there, and with the experience more and more time, you're going to get that confidence. Also, as a CFI perspective, I say we ask ourselves, sometimes we ask questions or we say things that look like a question or sound like a question, we're like it. And just act like they're not there. Act as if they're a passenger and they're just there to sit there and watch you, and you do all the actions as if nobody else were there if you were on a solo flight. As in networking and also talking in front of people like today, confidence, I always call my family, I call my mother, I call my father. Those supporting people aren't there just because they see me, but because they know I can reach my fullest potential without their support and building confidence as well and experience.
Another thing that goes along with that, and it kind of goes back to what Margit was saying, like telling yourself affirmations. Something that my very first mentor told me was to stand in the mirror and do like the Superman pose and like stand up all big and strong and just tell yourself that you can do it and give yourself specific affirmations. And something that my mom told me to do was like write those affirmations down, like write them on a sticky note or something and put them all over your bathroom mirror and just recite them daily. And then, like be prepared and stuff too, and like plan and things like that. But it's not something that happens overnight, and it sounds really stupid. And the first time you do it and you're standing there looking at yourself doing the Superman, like standing there like this, you're gonna feel dumb. You are, but it really does help. It really does help you build that confidence. And if you can stand there and look at yourself going like this, telling yourself affirmations, you can do it. So.
All right, so in this field, the demographic majority is male, and that obviously impacted the culture of aviation to be more masculine. So what are some areas that you have noticed this culture being present, and how do you think that impacted you?
I know for me personally, getting over being in a white male-dominated field, I just had to really advocate for myself and make my presence known. When you think about a pilot, you don't think of anyone that would look like me. I'm a dark-skinned black female with locks, so a lot of times showing up to the airplane as a flight student or even as an instructor, people would think that I was in the wrong place. And it was really hurtful at first, especially being a flight instructor, because I did have people that didn't want to fly with me or would show up and not realize that I was their instructor, and I'd be like, oh, who are you looking for? And they would just ignore me. And so it's something that I had to get over. But at the same time, it's something that I don't automatically accept, right? So I have to go in and be confident and be like, well, actually, I'm your instructor. This is what we're planning on doing today. I'm very qualified. I've been flying this airplane for X amount of years, and just being confident and proud of my skills and what it took to get there is something that has helped me throughout this industry. And as far as other ways to just make myself visible and let other people know that there are people that look differently than the white male demographic. So I do a lot of volunteering. I'm in a lot of different organizations, or even at my company, I do a lot of different things and make myself visible so that people know that there's more than just the white males, and that we can do this, even though women in aviation only make up 5%, or I think 7% now, and black women make up less than 1%. We're here and we matter.
I'm going to touch on a little bit of that being female part, because I've been at United Airlines, I'm in my 29th year. So we didn't really have female uniforms. We had to sort of look like everybody else. And I sort of thought that was the way I should look. So, for example, a flight attendant at one time came into the cockpit and she was saying, oh, I like your ring or something. And I was like, we don't talk about that stuff. We have to, that's not something we discuss. I had to fit into this male role and kind of just adapt to what I thought was right. I'd seen other female pilot and we'd sort of look at each other like, what are you wearing? Oh, those shoes are cute, And so we slowly started kind of coming into our own and what we felt comfortable in. We eventually, changed the uniform or got it more tailored. We advocated for ourselves to get a different hat or something like that. And now, which is really cool at United, we have kind of a secret club. It's called the Venus List, because we, of course, have thousands of female pilots now. And it's a Facebook group, but it's our way of kind of social interacting with each other. And we can ask each other all those kinds of questions. Where do you get those, shoes? Where do you, how do you wear your hair? I like this about this. Or we can face each other with just more intense conversation too on our own. It's just within our own group. So we're really, really supportive of each other. And then we're kind of raising that, be yourself. Wear what you feel comfortable in, and be professional, but it allows us to kind of support each other that way.
Just like Jill was saying, I wanted to talk about ISA. So Jill, I, and Carly, Rie, we are part of this organization called the International Society of Women Airline Pilots. So we are all female, Part 121 airline pilots. That's the requirements to be a member. And we're about 1,200 members from all over the world. We have captains from Qantas, some other airlines from Africa, and then also Europe. So what we do is, the biggest thing we do is we have scholarships for future female airline pilots. So we have $5,000 scholarships for CFI rating and also type rating scholarship, which is Airbus 320 or 737. So we have that. And for us, like Jill and I, we have a conference. We just went to Alaska, Anchorage. Thank you, Alaska Airlines. They sponsored us, gave us a lot of money. And we do have a serious business meeting. But besides that, we have fun with all our friends. We had glacier cruise, and then also ATV ride, and ball gown, all full out parties. That's what we do. So that's something we do to support each other. Just see your friend once a year, talk about stuff, our rings and nails and everything. That's something we do, and we can have fun. And it's just we can be ourselves. We can have long hair, nice nails, and rings, and nice shoes. So I think it's nice.
Yeah, so that's all the time that we have today for this panel. They will be around during the luncheon and everything, so please, if you have any questions for any of our panelists up on here, we are honored to have them here today. It is a great opportunity to talk to them and ask them those questions. So thank you again for everyone that's come, and thank you. We are honored to have all of our panelists here today, so thank you.